And that's what you want to do in the household. You want to get it functionally organized so you know where everything is, because someone's going to call you when you're halfway to your parents' house and be like, where is the blah, blah, blah? And if you can't find it and it's an emergency, you have to turn the freaking car around and go back and find the paper. But if you could
Right.
tell them where it is, you can keep going on with your life. So organization is the foundation of how you build your future time and capacity. You can choose to make it perfect and stay in the household, or you can take that time and do what you're uniquely gifted and created to do because it's not laundry.
You're not overwhelmed because you're bad at life. You're overwhelmed because no one taught you how to manage the invisible work of being an adult. And that invisible work is stealing your time, your energy, and your identity. Welcome back to the Perpetual Growth Podcast, where we explore the strategies, mindset shifts, and life structures that help you to grow your business, strengthen your relationships, and reclaim your health. Because growth isn't just about what you achieve, it's about who you become along the way. Quick ask, if this episode resonates with you, follow the show, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a review. It helps us amplify conversations that actually change lives. Today's conversation is about something that rarely gets named: the invisible workload of managing a home. The mental tabs, the emotional labor, the constant background processing. Lisa Woodruff is the founder and CEO of Organize 365. Host of the top-ranked Organize 365 podcast with over 23 million downloads, and author of multiple books, including her newest release, Escaping Quicksand. Lisa has spent decades studying how we manage our homes, our paper, our time, and more importantly, how we lose ourselves in the process. Her message is clear. Organization is not a personality trait. It's a learnable skill. And self-care is not indulgence, it's leadership. Lisa, welcome to the Perpetual Growth Podcast.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm super excited to have you here today. This is such a outstanding topic for really any of our listeners. I always like to start here, Lisa. What does growth mean to you right now in this season of your life?
Oh my goodness. I love growing, developing, learning, changing, surprising myself with who I'm able to become. In my early years, growth was becoming a great mother and meeting all the needs of my children. But now that they are grown and out of the house, growth for me is going back to school. I'm just about to finish getting my PhD and now
Yeah.
wrestling with what's the next big thing I want to tackle. I love having the freedom of time now to really dive into whatever I want to grow into next. I didn't really realize I would have this time when I was in my 50s.
Yeah, yeah. No, very true. I mean, so what I heard from you there is how one of the big differentiators for you from past to present was initially it was the focus on the kids, which obviously as parents, that's a major necessity of ours. So we've got to
Yeah.
sculpt and craft the individuals and help set them up for success. And now you get to shift back to focusing on you.
Mhm.
Tell me, how is growth maybe different for you, or what it meant when you started Organized 365 compared to one of the maybe the lowest points in your adult life?
Yeah, well, when you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you need to first take care of your basics, like everybody needs to be fed and clothed, you need to have shelter. And when you're the household manager and the person primarily responsible for that, like I spent decades, the only thing I was doing was trying to keep up with the laundry, make sure there was enough food in the house, making sure the house wasn't going to fall down around us.
Yeah.
And household managers spend like decades doing this. And it's great work. I loved doing that work. It was really hard for me to shift back into climbing up Maslow's hierarchy of needs for myself personally, like
Mm.
achieving success outside of the household and then continuing to grow Organize 365. So when I started Organize 365, I was just looking to replace my teaching salary. $500 a week is what I needed to earn. So I started a blog and turned it into an in-home professional organization company. So I replaced my teaching salary in about a year. But the
Mm.
ideas really caught on as I turned it into a podcast and courses and started writing books. And now the company is bigger than we ever dreamed or imagined it could be, my husband and I. And now I'm realizing that really my future is limitless. Like I got a
Yeah.
PhD just because I wanted to.
Yeah.
And it's kind of rocking my husband's in my world and like, is anybody going to come stop you, Lisa? And I'm finding out that no one is. And then my husband's like, can I stop you? And I was like, no, you can't. And I'm just like going for it. And it's really fun. I didn't really think about my life personally after raising kids.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a major identity shift. I mean, you could look at
Hmm.
this across context, like for our military brothers and sisters in arms who have, spent, whether it's 4 years or 20, 30 or more years making that transition to the civilian world, there carries a
Yeah.
lot of those, similar parallels. Obviously, very different context, but it is a shift in identity.
Hmm.
Let's go back to what you mentioned. I mean, what is the household manager and why is that role so, misunderstood?
Okay, so since you mentioned the military, I'm going to pull it back into military context
Hmm.
because I'm helping people in the military move. You may
Hmm.
not know this if you're not in the military,
Hmm.
but they do this thing called PCSing,
Hmm.
permanent change of station. There's
Hmm.
nothing permanent about this. About
Yeah.
every 18 months,
Yeah.
everyone in the military literally packs everything up and moves to a completely new location.
Mm.
And in the beginning of your military journey, when you do that and you move everything to one location, it may just be yourself personally, or you and a spouse, or maybe your first child. As you continue on in your military career, this gets harder and harder, not easier and easier, because you're moving children into new schools all of the time. And what was heart wrenching for me was as soon as a military professional comes to a new location, they look to the person on the bus with them going to wherever they're going. They're going, "Hi, my name is Lisa. Can you be the emergency contact for my kid at school?" And that broke my heart. Like, I mean, this is what household managers do. They don't just
Mm.
set up household and undo all the beds and put all the food in the kitchen. It is everything it takes to run a household, getting new doctors, having all the school forms filled out, figuring out who your emergency medical is going to be, for the spouse to be able to get employment in that city that you're moving to. All those things that you do when you move that become very visible at that time happen all the time in every household everywhere in the world. And usually there's one person in the household, often the woman, who is running all of those managerial tasks in addition to the
Mm.
housework.
Yeah. Yeah. So expand on that if you would. Why is it that so many high performing women feel like they're drowning at home?
Yes, so because running a household is a business.
Yes, it
68% of
is.
US GDP is household spending. So basically,
Yeah.
if you want to know like what's running the world, it is women at home buying stuff,
Hmm.
like whatever we buy.
100%. Yeah.
And whatever income you bring into your house, whether it's one spouse or both spouses, or you have multiple jobs, whatever all that is that ends up on your tax return as your income that is taxable for the federal government, that's the size business you're running. So it could be
Hmm.
$50,000, it could be $1 million. Whatever your income is the P&L for your household. And someone has to manage that. Like someone
Hmm.
has to make sure the bills that are paid, they may need to make sure the house is maintained, they need to make sure everybody's signed up for all the classes that they're going to be in. And that is a lot of management. And I like to
Hmm.
say that the person managing the household is the CEO. They may not
Hmm.
do everything in the household, but for most of the time we are doing everything. Like you can outsource things. I am having my house clean right now, but it's kind of hard to outsource things in your household like you would in a business. So if
Yeah.
a woman is also achieving some kind of career outside of the household, or has a business outside the household, she is managing two entities. And the work in the
Very
household
much.
takes 20 to 40 hours a week at least. And I'm not counting parenting.
Right.
Parenting is not, I'm not talking about parenting. I'm just running the household is a full-time job. So if you are a woman, like I am running a company, I'm actually managing two households. And it gets worse
Hmm.
because then your mother-in-law falls. Okay. Well, now you're
Hmm.
managing that whole household, or, like your households expand. The older you get, the more households you're actually running. And they all run on different operational systems, which is a problem.
Yeah, no, very much so. It's one of the things I think I undervalued and underappreciated when we were kids. I thought my mom was just a bit, I don't know, you could put a bunch of different labels to it, but I think she was very intentional about having the house very clean and organized. I mean, to the point where I thought maybe there was a little bit of a OCD complex in there, but then at the same time, she knew exactly where everything was. Everything was easy to find. Tell me for you, like, when did you realize that organization wasn't about like, bins and was about systems? And what does that do for people? I mean, I think people understand these things logically, but
Mhm.
they don't necessarily know how to practically implement it, where to start, what does that look like? So, I mean, let's start with that foundation. That when did you realize it wasn't just about the bins and was more about the systems? And how do we get started implementing some of those things in our households?
Okay, great. So I have always been a functional organizer. I have never been able to. be a straight A student. I wasn't even an A, B student. I had this floating C. So I was never a perfectionist.
Yeah.
But I'm very organized and I always know where everything is. And I'm able to modify how you organize a household based on the families that are in it. So I used to
Hmm.
organize the households of the kids that I babysat for. Then I organized my mom. She's an artist. Then I organized all the other teachers in their teacher classrooms. And so I've been organizing a lot by the time I started Organize 365. And here's what I noticed. Once I started my professional organization company at the age of 40, I started going to the container store like it was my job. And I would buy all these expensive containers and I put them in my house and other people's houses, and the organization didn't stick because
Hmm.
we actually were looking for the cereal box. We weren't looking for like a teal box that maybe cereal would be in somewhere. Like we
Right.
needed just a regular organization. So sometimes when you go overboard on the systematization would be like taking your email and organizing it all into color-coded folders and then going through each color-coded folder in order to answer all your email. I have all my email in an inbox and I just try to plow through it. Like it's a functional thing that you need to do. It doesn't need to be prettified. The other thing
Right.
is when you are a stay-at-home mom or you take great pride in having an awesome household and your house is functionally organized, well, then you have to struggle with the fact that you now have time and capacity to do what you're uniquely gifted and created to do. And some people don't like
Hmm.
that uncomfortableness. So what they do
Hmm.
instead is they make the organization even prettier, even more perfect. And then they maintain that because that's their job now. But they're creating hobby
Hmm.
work because the house is functionally organized. And that's what you want to do in the household. You want to get it functionally organized so you know where everything is. Because someone's going to call you when you're halfway to your parents' house and be like, where is the blah, blah, blah? And if you can't find it and it's an emergency, you have to turn the freaking car around and go back and find the paper. But if you could
Right.
tell them where it is, you can keep going on with your life. So, organization is the foundation of how you build your future time and capacity. You can choose to make it perfect and stay in the household, or you can take that time and do what you're uniquely gifted and created to do because it's not laundry.
Hmm. There's several things to take out of what you just said. One, power of association. It's like, yeah, we could buy the pretty bins, but is that what our brain is going to register to? It's like, if
Mhm.
I'm looking for the cereal, I'm looking for the cereal box, not necessarily the cute color-coded bin that I've got it in with the label on it. Makes complete
Mhm.
sense to me. So we have to leverage the power of association. Where's your brain going to recognize that thing the fastest? And then in addition, there's it comes back to that identity shift is it's like, okay, now we've created the organization, there's the systemization within the house, but now what do I do with this extra time? And
Right.
that can maybe create an inherent fear of unknowing. So we can find ways to, self-sabotage and go back to the devil we know, which is now
Yes.
continue to refine that organization even more versus saying, what would I really like to do with this additional time? So, how are you coaching, be it women or individuals, to break through those habitual patterns and step into what's next? Because that's a major obstacle. That's a major
Mhm.
hurdle to
Mhm.
overcome.
Yeah. So if you have any child in your household under the age of 5, you are to take a nap instead of organize anything because it really doesn't matter what you organize, and you'll be so much happier when you just take a nap. So that's the rule. Under the age of 5, every single thing has to change every 6 weeks to 3 months. The size of clothes, what they eat, what they drink, their toys, everything changes. So it is totally pointless. Like just put any system in place and maintain it and just try to get through the shoveling snow in the snowstorm portion of your life. Now, when your youngest child goes to all day school, whether that's kindergarten or first grade, now it's time to go, okay, we could take a breath and we could put some organizational systems in place for while we have school age kids. And then I'm telling you, caregiving, parenting, it takes all of your time. So
Hmm.
don't go for perfect systems, just go for basic systems and survive this time because any extra time you have, you're going to pour into parenting or you're going to
Hmm.
pour into your marriage as you should. But
Hmm.
then there's going to come this time when your youngest child gets their driver's license, which is scary and then immediately liberating. And you're like, oh my gosh, I just gained 25 hours a week. That's literally how much time I gained when my youngest
Yeah.
child got their driver's license. I couldn't believe it. Now you've got time. Now go ahead and take 6 months a year, get your house as perfect as you want it to be, but put a deadline on there as to when you're no longer full-time household manager. You are now Lisa Woodruff, what do I want to be in this next phase of life? Start to think about how do you want to use your time now that you finally got your time back. Of course, you're going to keep investing in your marriage and your kids, but the quantity of time that you get back when your kids start to launch into their adult lives is huge. And I mean, how do you wrestle with what you're supposed to do next? You have to start dreaming. You have to start looking about at what is possible. There's no way you're listening to this podcast and you aren't already thinking about those things. So, what do you want to do? And here's what I will say on the other side, you can do anything you want and nobody's going to stop you. So, really start dreaming about what do you want to do? And then what would be the first step to take towards seeing if that's the dream you really want to follow through on?
Yeah. So simple, so important, so profound, but so many people lack the actual follow through and the discipline. And it's interesting because I've been having this conversation with countless individuals, and I coach and consult for thousands of business owners. And one of those perpetual patterns is people really haven't gotten clear on what they want.
Right?
Again, they fall
Right.
into the habit, they fall into the pattern. And, one thing I frequently talk about is, what's wrong is always available. So is what's right. Most people focus on their problems and then they wonder why they get more of them. Well, we can also shift our focus to the things that we want, but fuzzy targets don't get hit. If we haven't gotten really clear about the life that we want to create and live and created something by our own design, then we're meandering through life hoping that we land in some place that actually brings actual fulfillment. And you said something so simple but so important. Take the time to dream. I
Yes.
frequently tell people that go back, be a little kid again. When,
Mhm.
boundaries were limitless, we thought about being astronauts and mountaineers and like whatever the thing was. I mean, as adults, you tend to lose that sense of wonder. And it's so
Mhm.
important to give ourselves the permission and find that little bit of freedom to dream and explore and start thinking about what do I really want. So very powerful tip. Now, I'd love to have you bring in the book, Lisa.
Okay.
The title is powerful. I mean, Escaping Quicksand. I love that title. Um, what's the quicksand?
So the quicksand for me, and I find for many people as they approach the age of 40, is that we're super excited to be adults in our 20s. And then it's kind of lonely. And along the way in our 20s, we kind of find our adult friend groups. So we get some friends and we make some decisions. Maybe you get married, maybe you have kids, maybe you buy a house, start a career, whatever you start, you make some decisions in your 20s. And they kind of lock up your time and money. And then you start to, in the middle of your 30s, go, wow, I got a 30-year mortgage and I'm only 10 years into it. Oh, wow, I had three kids and now they're starting school and I'm going to be a parent for 20 more years. Oh, wow, I'm married and this is the rest of my life. And you're like, oh, there's not as many decisions happening. And all your money is now already allocated based on the decisions you made in your 20s and 30s. And then, like, your parents get divorced. My parents got divorced and everybody was surprised, apparently, except them. And then my father became ill, so now I'm a caretaker for him. And then my sister and I are settling his estate when they're divorced. That was a lot of fun. And then
Yeah.
my kids are in grade school and they've got extra school needs. And then we go through the Great Recession, and the direct sales company I'm with goes bankrupt twice. So now I have no income, and I'm sitting here down in the bottom of the pit of despair that I've been slowly sliding down for 5 to 7 years, and I'm about to turn 40. And if you're not 40 yet, I don't know why we think this, but we think the day we turn 40, we're going to like explode or something, or like we're going to fall off a cliff and never to be seen again. That's how I felt. I felt like there was no life after 40. Then you're 40 and one day old, and you're like, oh, I'm still alive. Okay, well, if I'm going to live to be 80, 90, 100, what am I doing for the next 40, 50, 60 years of my life? I can't just keep sliding down into this pit. But you're already in the pit of despair and you realize you're in quicksand and you're sinking further and further. And every movement you make is not making any progress because you're so worn out and depleted because you've been giving of yourself to work, to the family, to your marriage, to your external family, that you haven't been taking care of yourself. And you are in major need of taking care of yourself. So if you're going to live 40, 50, 60 more years, you have to keep doing everything you're already doing. And somehow you have to figure out how to put yourself on the list. So now that I'm 54, when I was in my 40s, I organized the house, I got the business going, I figured all those things out. But in hindsight, I realized I made a lot of mental mindset shifts that allowed me to be the positive, proactive person I am today and grow the company I grew because of the mental shifts I made, not just the external things that you saw of organizing the house and things like that. So this is what happened internally while those things externally were happening.
Hmm. That's fascinating. And again, so I mean, it's that transition from so many years of selflessness
Yeah.
to what can be potentially mislabeled as a feeling of selfishness, but it's also a healthy need. You've
Yes.
spent a lifetime putting everybody else's needs before your own. When would now be a good time to start taking care of you?
And what does that even look like? So while
Yeah.
I was getting my PhD, I came up with a definition. So some of the things I learned in getting a PhD is really fascinating. They always say, like follow the science and what researchers have found. Well, the only way researchers find things is by looking for them. And one of the
Yeah.
things that researchers have not looked for is what happens to us in adult life. Like what are the developmental stages we go through as adults? There are only two researchers that have ever researched that, and they were both men in their 50s. So women weren't even considered in there. And the stages, while defined, are not, really applicable to today. And
Yeah.
so I was in that class and asking questions, and this idea of self-care came up. And I was thinking, well, what is self-care? Because yes, I get my nails done and I take bubble baths, but that's not really self-care to me. And I realized that the care of a child, like when you are a parent, how you care for a child, or as we are caring for our parents and our grandparents as they no longer can care for themselves. There are a couple of things we do. Number one, of course, we provide food, housing, laundry. But it's not just that. We also
Mhm.
provide educational outlets and spiritual outlets. We go and we visit with them. We give them relational activities. We make sure that they're learning and growing and developing and have everything that they need. Okay, well, when you leave your childhood home until you need to go into assisted living someday, everything in between there is self care. You have to take care of yourself like your parents did until your children someday have to take care of you. So it's more than just the provision of your life sustaining care of feeding, bathing, clothing, and your medical care. It's also your educational needs, your aspirational needs, your spiritual development, your emotional needs, your health needs. Like all of those things you should be meeting for yourself. And what I realized at 40 was I was meeting none of those. Like I had taken myself completely off the board because everything went to the kids. And so you
Mhm.
have to realize, how do you blend that back together again? How do you not focus on you instead of your children, but how do you focus on yourself with everyone you're communing with, spouse, children, or maybe you live alone? It doesn't matter. For everyone, how do you start caring for yourself like you need to be cared for in every aspect?
That's so simple, but again, so powerful and like ideologically, like we
Right.
and intellectually, I think most people listening can understand any of these ideas, but the whole transition to actual like
Right.
implementation becomes a
Right.
whole other struggle in of
Right.
itself. But I think one thing that's important to have you expand upon, because immediately what comes to my mind is like you can't pour from an empty cup. And so often
Yes.
this is exactly what we're doing. But so why in your mind is self-care the foundation and not the reward?
Exactly, because you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to put your
Yeah.
oxygen mask on first. Nobody teaches you how to. Like, you get to the point where you're so depleted that now you become the liability. And all these
Mm,
people are dependent on you. And now you can't meet their needs because you didn't take care of your own. So you
mhm.
must start to prioritize your basic self care so that you can still provide for everyone else. And this can be super, super simple. I've talked about kids a lot, but I know like in my audience, 60% of people, their kids are grown or they never had kids. So, a
Mm.
great example would be, let's say you're caring for your parents or you travel a lot and you work 80 hours a week. How can you start to have some self care? Some basic ways that you can start to have self care is if you're planning meals for your parents or you're planning meals for someone else, plan meals for yourself. So my husband will say to me, it'd be really nice if we all ate the same amount of food at our household. And I was like, well,
Mm.
we have a newborn that's on formula and I'm after menopause. So I'm not eating the same thing that our daughter who is breastfeeding is going to eat, or I'll be the size of an elephant. So I need to think about what do I need? What are my nutrition goals? What are my macros? What's working for my body? Create a grocery list and go ahead and say, yeah, we're going to buy different foods. We're going to have different foods in our family because the people in our family have different nutrition goals and different needs. So we're going to have a bunch of different grocery lists, and our refrigerator is going to look like a grocery store instead of everybody sitting at the table eating the same meal. And that's okay because I want to support my menopausal body instead of making it convenient for everybody and just having one grocery list. So that's like
Mm.
one example. Or I'll
Mm.
have a silly example is I do travel quite a bit and now I've joined a gym. So I have triplicates of all of the things that I have in my bathroom. So all of my makeup, my hair straightener, everything. I've got it already packed in the gym bag. I've got it already packed in the carry-on, and I have it in my bathroom. I don't have to think about, did I put the deodorant in the bag? Like there's always a deodorant everywhere I go. There's always a hairbrush everywhere I go. Just taking
Mhm.
care of your self-care needs. I did that for my kids when they had sports. I would put
Mhm.
deodorant and a hairbrush in their bag, so there should
Mhm.
be one in mine.
Right. So, I mean, that's an important principle is the power of anticipation. It's like instead of
Mm.
being responding in the moment, let's think ahead how we can systemize these processes to make life easier so that we're not scrambling in the moment when the trip comes up. Or, if the more common that life circumstance is, like you said, travel is a common thing for you now, well, then you know the potential pitfalls. And instead of beating yourself up every time you forget the deodorant, well, why not just pull a whole nother one in the bag each time you go?
Yeah.
It's such a simple idea, but again, so easy for so many people to
Mhm.
overlook. At least some of this. I mean, if someone listening feels like they're one step away from burnout,
Yeah.
what's the first system they need to put in place this week? And what should they stop doing immediately?
Okay, so I spend too much time on Instagram. And I'm not saying to stop being on Instagram, but I tend to scroll for like way too long at night. So here's
Yeah.
what I would tell you to do. Like still do the Instagram, but do this first. Pretend like you're 12 and that I'm your mom. And I'm telling you, you have to clean your bedroom, your bathroom, and your closet. And I don't care if it takes you 3 months. It really doesn't matter. But before you do Instagram or whatever your thing of choice is, X, whatever, I want you to go and just go in your closet, spend 15 minutes, and just get rid of the clothes that don't make you feel good anymore, or they
Mm,
have a stain on them, or you just haven't taken the time to do it. And I don't do the whole empty the whole closet out. Nobody's got time for that. Like just go through
mm,
your shoes. The last time you wore those shoes, they pinched your feet, they hurt within 15 minutes, just get rid of them. Just
mm,
donate them. Just have them be gone. Or another thing you could do is if you're in your closet and let's say you're like, you know what, I only have enough underwear for 5 days, which means I have to do laundry more than once a week. And I really would like to do laundry once a week. You're going to place an
mhm,
order for socks and underwear. And all of a
mhm,
sudden, you could do laundry once a week instead of twice a week. Simple things. And until you have nothing else you could do in your closet, bathroom, and bedroom, then you move on. And why I say your closet, bathroom, and bedroom is because I want you to treat yourself like a child again. When
mhm.
you can get up in the morning and you have all the toiletries that you need, and you go into your closet and everything in there fits the body that you have now and makes you feel great, you will stop making decisions all morning and you will stop shoulding on yourself all morning because I should lose weight. I should do this. I wish I'd done that. Da,
Yeah,
da, da, da.
yeah,
And so now you'll get
yeah.
up, you'll shower, you'll get dressed, you'll get ready, and you'll be daydreaming about your day. You'll be
Mhm,
listening to a podcast and thinking about the possibilities, and then interact with your family or colleagues or whoever you do along the day. And you're starting to provide self care. You're
mhm,
providing for your own clothing and your bathroom and your sleeping needs. And then
mhm,
add on a very simple morning and evening routine to that. Like, what are the things you want to do at night? I take a bath, I take my supplements, and I'm now flossing. That's my whole nighttime routine. In the morning, I make sure I fill a water bottle and I have coffee and I grab my protein bar in addition to getting ready in my bathroom. That's my whole morning routine while I listen to a podcast. It can be really simple, but now you're bookending your day and you're supporting yourself when you go to bed and when you wake up, and you're waking up in an organized space and you're going to bed in an organized space. You'll get that done in a couple of months and it will be amazing how much better you will feel.
mhm. Yeah. No, it's a profound difference. When you walk into a room that is organized, it just feels lighter and airier. And if you're surrounded by chaos, like I'm very ADD and I have a tendency for things to get a little bit more and more cluttered over time. And then I hit that moment where it's like enough is enough.
Yeah.
And then I go into that organization phase and everything looks fantastic. And then one item by one item, they start to stack and spread as I'm looking at my desk
Yes.
right now. And it's not terrible, but it's not where I would like it to be. So that
Yes.
that definitely makes a lot of sense. It's funny you said that too, because I literally just ordered more underwear for those exact same reasons. I
Ah,
was like, okay, if I got 5 pairs in here versus 15, now I can do
yes.
laundry a lot less frequently.
Yes.
My mind is always looking for ways to optimize, but you gave me some even greater ideas. I love this. This is really simple but profound at the same time. Now, tell me this, like from a practical standpoint, why do uh, most organizational attempts fail?
Yeah. So again, organization is sold to us as a design aesthetic, minimalism, rainbow order, bins, because organization is actually a learnable skill like reading. Like, how do you
Hmm.
buy reading at the store? You don't buy reading at the store, you buy books. So the only thing that you could buy is the after effect or what the organization is going to look like. And
Hmm.
organization isn't taught in schools. So
Hmm.
there's a fallacy there. Like, what are you going to buy? How are you going to get that? You have to learn the skill. And then, as I was doing in home organizing in Cincinnati for 6 years, what I found was the houses in Cincinnati are like cookie cutters. Like, every single house is basically the same. You have a ranch or a two-story, but basically, they're all the same size. They're all the same. The only difference is the people living in them. So
Hmm.
is it a single young man? Is it a married couple with no children? Is it a single mom with children? Is it a divorcee? Is it, like, is it somebody who's coming in to Cincinnati for Procter and Gamble for 18 months so that they can move up the corporate ladder? They
Hmm.
all are different people, but the house is exactly the same. How that house
Hmm.
functions was completely different for all those different constituents. And so
Hmm.
then we would organize the spaces or put in shelves and bookshelves and closets different for how they functioned in that house. But the
Hmm.
house on the outside basically was the same. And really, to be honest, houses have not changed since the 1950s or 60s when they started building a bunch of modular suburban homes. You can like, ooh, we have a three-car garage or we have a home office. Like, there just aren't that many differences in the household. So the thing I would say to you is make your house match your life, not your life match your house. And that is the key to getting organized. It has nothing to do with what it looks like. As a matter of
Hmm.
fact, it'll look odd to other people. I said this a lot during COVID. I was like, okay, we're going to be home. So if you like Legos, one of these rooms is going to become a Lego room. Make it a room. One of these rooms is going to have to be a school room. Make it the room. Put everybody sleeping in one room and take the bedrooms and make those be different rooms because now we're living in this one house for however long we're going to do it. And the people that actually modified their environment quicker were like, this is great. And they didn't go back. They still have Lego rooms and all these different things in their house because that's how they like to use their house. Who cares what it
That's
looks like? Who's
fascinating.
coming
Yeah.
over anyway? I never
Yeah.
had people at my house. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Because I mean, we have the game room and like different functional rooms, but I mean, you even took it to another level by
Yeah.
saying, let's completely adopt the mentality of this room, move
Yeah.
multiple beds into another, and make this the theme or function that you want that serves the household the best. That's a really cool
Yeah.
idea. Fascinating. So speaking to some of your, personal philosophies, like talk to us more about like, what's Swiss cheese organizing?
Okay, so we've already given you the antidote to Swiss cheese organizing. So this will be fun now. Swiss cheese organizing is when you have had it and you are going to take back the house this weekend. And so
Okay.
anything with a heartbeat runs away because you've
Mhm.
got the black trash bag out and you're just going to like trash everything you can find. And then you're going to organize the family room and the toy room and the kids' rooms and the refrigerator and all that. What happens is, though, 1 to 2 weeks later, is everything looks like it did 2 weeks ago because it's not about the stuff in the house. You've organized the most lived in spaces of the house, which are always lived in, which are always going to look like a bomb went off in them. But you didn't tackle the spaces that you don't see if people are coming over, which actually, if those spaces are organized, would lower your cortisol and lower your stress, like your bedroom, bathroom, and closet. Now, if you're done with your bedroom, bathroom, and closet, and it's been a couple months, you're like, oh, this Lisa girl maybe knows what she's talking about. Then I want you to go to another hidden space. Go to your home office or go to your storage room or, start to tackle your paper, which that's a whole nother ball of wax if we want to talk about paper. But these things that really, once you can get those organized, like getting a storage room organized, I call it a prepaid store. I have organized hundreds of storage rooms. And you know what they have in them? 50% are empty boxes and broken stuff because you just put stuff in there. It's so easy to organize a storage room. I get that big bang effect real quick because I just get rid of all that and then I put in shelving and I put all of the junk into bins. It really doesn't matter what you're saving, like with like, and I label it and you walk in and it's just a bunch of shelves with bins. I just buy it at Home Depot. It's fancy but not that fancy. It costs money but not that much money. And then if you move all the time, like in the military, you literally move the shelving and move the bins. It is the first space that will be organized in your new location, and that organization will stick forever. Like once you get that
Mhm.
organized, it will stay organized forever. But you don't go to your storage room because who wants to? And you keep reorganizing the toy room. Stop doing that and stop throwing your kids' toys away because then they're
I keep
bored
telling my
and they
wife
start
that same
staring
thing.
at
I'm
you.
like,
And they're like, I don't have any toys. Yeah, you got rid of their toys and now they're staring at you like, why can't I go do a project? Because you got rid of their toys.
mm,
Get rid of your projects or organize your projects.
that is hilarious. Okay, all right. I'm gonna get vulnerable for a second. Hopefully, Hopefully, my wife and father-in-law never listen to this episode because I might end up getting pushed off a pier. They're Italians, so yeah, I gotta lean into the stereotype. No,
Oh, that's dangerous.
yeah, it is for sure. So my wife, God love her, she takes after her dad, and her dad has this like funny fetish. Like there's a corner of the garage where it's just stacked with boxes, and they're all empty boxes, and we're like, why do you keep all these? And he's like, well, you never know when you're gonna need them. It's like, boxes
That's
are
a good
expensive, and
box.
it's like his funny, yeah, exactly. Literally, he'll say that it's a good box. I mean, it's I might need it at some point in the future. Now, her boxes are things like everything. It doesn't matter if it's the clothes, Christmas ornaments. We got a corner of the garage that is like stacked floor to ceiling. When I say a corner, I mean we're talking about some significant square footage here over 12-foot ceilings, right? And it drives me crazy because I'm like, we don't need all this stuff. Can we just purge and let go? I don't want to keep acquiring more things. I want to get rid of more things so we can have more bandwidth and space and freedom and create, like you said, just organizing a space. Now she's very organized. I will give her that, but the accumulation factor just seems like it continues to expand, and it drives me nuts. Like how, when there's somebody that for whatever
I love
reason,
how stressed you are. You're like,
yeah,
ah!
oh, literally. I mean, it boils up. But I'm like, and I can be guilty of this at times too, but I mean, I will. She takes it to many other levels, exponentials. But when you have those individuals that have that, um, I don't know how to label it, but I'm going to call it that, like that kind of like hoarding mentality. I mean, maybe through your studies, have you ever come across like where that actually comes from, and how do you get people to get to that point of release where they actually are able to accept letting things go and then start making the decisions and actually doing it?
How many kids do you have? What are their ages?
Three, 17, 9, and 6.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Your
know.
wife gets all the passes. You don't get any. Okay, so here's what's happening. I have not studied hoarding. That is actually a mental illness, and I am not qualified for that. I'm getting an applied psychology PhD, not a
I'm not
clinical
going to say it's
psychology
real
PhD.
hoarding, but I mean it's
It's
like it's
not.
like
It's
gotta be
definitely
close.
not. So you said 17, 9, and 6?
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
So you have just entered the golden age. When your youngest child is 5 or 6, especially 7, is the youngest one a boy or a girl?
Girl,
Okay, you're already
she's
there.
she's my
Girls at 5,
challenge.
boys at 7. Okay, so now you can actually, if you're not having more children, you can actually purge like a lot of things because they're in full-time school. But until you have your youngest one in full-time school, you need all that stuff because you just need it. You just need it. Also, she is running the household full-time, parenting full-time, probably doing a bunch of other things full-time that I don't know. How she gets her work done really doesn't matter. And she's also the CEO. So you're not the CEO. So she gets to make the decisions, unless you want to take on all of the invisible labor, which I trust me, you do not. So there should be spaces that you are in charge of, like your office. You're in charge of your office. You're in charge of your part of the closet. You're in charge of your side of the bedroom, wherever
Hmm.
you get ready in the bathroom. You may
That's how
have
we operate.
okay. So what I did, because I was the maker of 90% of the mess, I had to realize I had like 23 different projects going on when I turned 40. And I made the decision by the end of that year, if I had not finished that project or was actively working on it, they would go. And like 20 of them left without me doing the project. And the problem was I was really good at acquiring all the stuff for the projects. And sometimes
Hmm.
I didn't even start the project. So I had to create for myself this 24-hour rule. So the 24-hour rule is I'm not allowed to even buy anything for a project until I'm going to start that project within 24 hours. Like painting a room, no. Can't get the gallon of paint until I'm going to paint it tomorrow morning. Or even better yet, buy it the day I am painting it. Because I would buy it and then I would not really want to do that anymore. And I'd move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So if
Hmm.
I want to listen to an audiobook, I'm not allowed to buy it now or even download it with a credit until I'm ready to press play. Because 24 hours, I still would be like, oh, now I don't want to listen to that book. I don't know what it is with me, but I'm weird. And so when you think about the household, the woman running the household who is also a parent, they are parenting, they're doing housework, they're doing organization, they're doing household management, and a whole bunch of other things. They're running a whole entire business and a daycare at the same time. Can you
Hmm.
imagine? So now think about you running your business. There are a lot of things in your business that are like on the back burner that you know you're going to get to eventually because there's something else that's more pressing now, but it's more hidden because it's on your computer or it's somewhere else. If all of that was visible, your wife would be like, When the heck are you going to get this organized? When are you going to do that project? You keep saying you're going to update your website. I don't see your website being updated, but no one can see what you're doing in your business. And you're constantly prioritizing, usually for profit in business, what you do next. In a household, you're doing the same thing. You're prioritizing for the income that you have in the household, which things can or can't be done based on the economic resources, but also your energy resources, the developmental needs of the kids, the seasonality of the household is just not the right season to do it, your bandwidth. And so they're making all those decisions, and everything they need to do every job is in this household. Now,
Mm.
the boxes could go. We could also break the boxes down so that they're not actually full-size boxes. If they're still full-size boxes, you could break them down. We could make it smaller. We could move them to an external storage shed if you want it, move it somewhere else. But really, this isn't the hill you need to die on.
Mhm. Yeah, no.
Let her have the
That's a
box.
great.
And also, okay, so let me go here. So there's I I do not like the conversation that's in the media right now about the invisible load. Yes, ladies are doing it. Yes, we run the household. Yes, we do the majority of housework. I don't really see this as a problem because, as my husband will say, I want to do it my way. I'm like, darn right I do. So
Mhm.
just follow along.
Mhm.
But I will say, in my 40s, one of the things I did is I abdicated my role of anything related to food. So my kids were like 15 and 14 when I did this. I was driving 25 hours a week, them all over the place, trying to start my company. I don't eat well. So I was eating fast food. They were eating fast food. I was still going to the grocery store, buying groceries. I stink at cooking. I was cooking food. We were throwing it away. So Tuesday I came home and I said to my husband, I don't grocery shop anymore. This is 10 years ago. He goes, what? Because he eats lunch at home. Like he eats the food that I buy. And I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, I mean, I eat fast food. They eat fast food. Like I just don't go to the store anymore. He goes, how are we going to get food and liquids into the store? I was like, well, you have a credit card, you have a car, and you know where the grocery store is. And I just never went to a grocery store again. This was before COVID. Like I just never went again. And he was like, what? And I just didn't because I didn't have any more capacity or any bandwidth. And
Mhm.
then now he says, Lisa, do you realize like almost everybody in the grocery store is men? I'm like, of course it is, because it is one thing that we could take off our list. We really don't care. And you're definitely going to pick it up because you like to eat. So you're going to figure out how to get food in this house. And now he cooks, he does everything. And he's to the point where he's like, I don't want to go to the grocery store and cook. I was like, I don't know, I'm not taking it back. Because there are so many things that I do that I can't offload and I don't want to offload. Like my
Mhm.
kids' medical and my grandchildren's medical, like everyone in the family jokes that if anything happens to me, no one's going to know where to go because I know everything about everyone's medical and everything that needs to be done. Well, in order for
True.
me to do that, which I'm better at,
Mhm.
then they could do groceries. But I do believe it is a partnership. I don't think it has to be even Steven. I'm the CEO. I can have more of the work. It's fine because I'll make the
Mhm.
decisions and I'll deploy our resources accordingly.
Oh, it's never going to be even. I mean, the moment we start carrying checks and balances is the moment your relationship is destroyed. There's going to be seasonality.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's one of the worst standards that people hold themselves to. It's not a competition, it's a collaboration. And there's going to be times where we have to step up and fill in each other's shoes and help be more supportive for like variety of different reasons.
Yep.
Like I know, like my oldest is from a previous relationship. I had full custody of her from the time that she was very young. So those dynamics, and then when you have that interplay of mixed families now, it's just all of this stuff. There's a constant shift and evolution, and what it's about is finding more of that harmony, I believe, than just about anything else. You know, it's not necessarily balance, but I love the word harmony because now we can create synergy and work together. Now, Lisa, 20 years from now, when women talk about Organized 365, what do you hope they say changed in their lives because of your work? And not what they organized, but who they became.
Yeah, so I'm so blessed that it's already happening and it is so humbling. But women are getting their houses all the way organized and then having to wrestle with what they're uniquely gifted and created to do. And then
Hmm.
they're doing it. Zach, it is so amazing. They're writing books, starting nonprofits. I mean, there was somebody in our organization that was working on COVID before we even knew it was COVID, was working on one of the vaccines at the time. Like, it is amazing what they are doing with the time that they have opened up because they know that their household can run without them and that they can manage it without being present and having their finger on everything. It is just,
Yeah.
It's not about the organization. It's not about Organized 365. It's about
Mhm.
freeing women's time and capacity for what they're uniquely gifted and created to do, because what we
Mhm.
need is women following their hopes and dreams more and believing in themselves.
Mhm. I love that. And thank you for that moment of grounding and inspiration because I mean, you identified it. We're at that pivotal stage in life where the kids now are in school and my
Mhm.
wife does have more time. And it was, her thinking back and thinking about what she was going to do next. And originally the conversation started with me asking the same questions. I'm like, what do you really want to do? I'm like, forget just getting another job. What would light
Yeah.
you up? What was the thing that you didn't pursue from your past? And then through time and whatever, all the things come up, and then the kids have all the sports and after school activities and stuff. And then it kind of slid back toward that, oh, I'll just get another job, which, nothing wrong with that. In my mind, I was thinking, okay, this is great. It gets her out of the house. She's able to start building more interpersonal relationships. But what I love about this is that really important reminder to go back to that first foundational question. What do you really want? And
Mhm.
help encourage and invite and guide her toward pursuing that thing and not just settling, but doing what, is actually going to bring her the most fulfillment. So thank you for that, Lisa. Now, as we wrap up today's episode, where is the best place for our listeners to find you? If they're looking for support, if they'd like to acquire one of your books, where can the listeners get in touch?
Yeah, so I am Organized 365 everywhere. So it's organized365.com is the website where you can find the books and the courses and the community that we have. I'm Organized 365 on Instagram if you like Instagram like I do. And my podcast is also Organized 365. If you like this conversation, you might like the conversations we have over there.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Lisa. And we'll make sure that we have all of those links and connections in the show notes. Now, to the audience, remember, you're not overwhelmed because you're incapable. You're overwhelmed because you've been carrying invisible work without a system. Growth isn't about adding more to your plate, it's about reclaiming your plate. So, if this conversation resonated, be sure to share it with someone who needs permission to prioritize themselves because the most powerful thing you can do for the people you love is learn how to care for yourself first. So until next time, grow intentionally, live deliberately, and build a life that reflects who you are becoming.